right now, and listen to me very carefully. Something has shifted in your life, and I do not mean a small shift. I mean the kind of shift that rewrites the entire operating system of your existence. You have entered a level that most human beings on this earth will never reach, not because they are less worthy, but because they were not built to carry what you were built to carry. And right now, as you hear these words, there is a stirring inside your chest, a knowing that what I am saying is not new information. It is confirmation. You have felt it. In the way sleep has changed, in the way certain people suddenly feel distant, not because they wronged you, but because you have outgrown the frequency they operate on. In the way silence has become louder than noise. God did not bring you to this message by accident. He brought you here because you have crossed a threshold that less than 1% of His chosen ones ever cross. And you need to understand what that means, because this level does not operate by the rules you learned before. Everything changes here. And if you stay with me through this entire message, I will show you exactly what has changed, why it changed, and what is now available to you that was never available before. Now, before I go any further, I need you to understand something about what I am about to share with you. This is not a surface-level message. This is not motivation. This is not something I put together to make you feel good for an hour and then forget by tomorrow morning. What I am about to walk you through is a complete map, a detailed, layered, and deeply personal map of the spiritual level you have just entered. And I use the word level intentionally, because across every sacred text, every wisdom tradition, every account of human spiritual development throughout history, there is a consistent pattern that emerges. Not everyone who hears the call responds. Not everyone who responds endures. And not everyone who endures arrives at the innermost place. There are 5 levels of spiritual existence, chosen 1, 5. And most teachings only talk about the first 2. Tonight, I am going to take you through all 5. I am going to show you where you have been, where you are right now, and what awaits you at the level you have entered. And by the time this message ends, you will never see your journey the same way again. Let me walk you through them. The first level is the level of the cold. This is where it all begins. Something stirs, a restlessness that will not go away, a feeling that there is more to life than what the surface shows. Millions of people experience this stirring. Millions hear the whisper. But here is the truth. Most of them dismiss it. They feel the pull, and then they go back to scrolling, back to routine, back to the noise that drowns out the voice. The called are many. The ones who respond are far fewer. The second level is the level of the chosen. These are the ones who did not just hear the call. They answered it. They stepped forward. They said yes, even when yes did not make sense. They left comfort zones, ended relationships that were holding them back, walked away from paths that the world told them were safe. The chosen have skin in the game. They are not tourists in the spiritual realm. They are invested. And many people stop here. They wear the identity of being chosen like a badge, and they settle. They think this is the final destination. It is not. The third level is the level of the tested. And this is where the road gets narrow. This is the wilderness, the long night, the season where everything you thought you understood gets challenged, shaken, turned upside down. The tested are the ones who said yes to God and then watched as God seemingly went silent. Their prayers hit the ceiling, their finances crumbled, their relationships fractured, their health wavered. And the world around them said, "See, this is what happens when you follow that path." The tested are the ones who stayed anyway, who kept walking when the road disappeared, who kept believing when the evidence said stop. The fourth level is the level of the stripped. And this is where most people turn back, because at this level, God does not just test what you believe. He removes what you have been leaning on, the crutches, the backup plans, the safety nets, the identities you built to survive the earlier levels. At the stripped level, you lose things that feel essential, not because God is cruel, but because you cannot carry level 5 weight with level 3 tools. The stripped are the ones who stood in the ashes of everything they thought they were and said, "I am still here. I do not know who I am anymore, but I am still here." And then there is level 5, the consecrated, the set apart, the ones who passed through calling, choosing, testing, and stripping, and did not turn back, not once. The consecrated are not the loudest voices in the room. They are often the quietest. They are not the ones performing miracles for applause. They are the ones whose very presence shifts the atmosphere of a room without them saying a word. And here is what I need you to hear. You are at level 5. You may not have had language for it until right now. You may have been walking around feeling like something is profoundly different but unable to explain it to anyone. That ends today, because I am going to give you the language. I am going to give you the map, and I am going to show you every dimension of what is happening to you right now at this level. Before we go deeper, let me tell you what you will receive if you stay with me through this entire message. You will receive the complete map of level 5, not just what it looks like, but how it operates, how it affects your mind, your relationships, your position in the larger design God is building. You will receive specific tools calibrated for this level, not basic practices you have heard before, but advanced frameworks for discernment, energy management, and identity that are designed for where you are now. You will receive a sacred activation ceremony at the end of this message, a spoken declaration over your life that I believe will stay with you long after today. And you will understand, perhaps for the first time, why everything you have been through was not punishment. It was architecture. Every single piece of it. Stay with me. Every word from this point forward was placed here for you. Now, let us begin with the first revelation, the first dimension of what is happening to you at level 5. And it starts not with what you can see, but with what you can feel. Something has changed inside you, and it did not change all at once. It crept in slowly, like dawn. One morning you woke up and the world looked the same, but you did not feel the same inside it. And you have been trying to name it ever since. Let me name it for you. The first sign is the way your sleep has changed. You are either sleeping deeper than you have in years, the kind of sleep that feels like your body is being rebuilt from the inside, or you are waking at strange hours, 2 in the morning, 3:30, 4:15, with a clarity in your mind that does not belong to someone who just opened their eyes. You are not having insomnia. You are being recalibrated. Your internal clock is syncing to a frequency that the rest of the world is not operating on. And because no one around you is experiencing the same thing, you thought something was wrong with you. Nothing is wrong with you. The second sign is the way silence has become your preference. You used to need noise, music in the car, television in the background, conversations to fill the space. But lately, you have been craving quiet, not because you are depressed, not because you are withdrawing, but because silence has become a language you can finally hear. At level 5, the internal noise, the constant mental chatter, the spinning thoughts, the anxious replays of past conversations, all of that begins to quiet down, and when the noise stops, you hear something underneath it that has been there your whole life, waiting for you to get still enough to notice. The third sign is the way old pleasures have lost their grip. Things that used to excite you no longer move you. Entertainment that used to hold your attention feels hollow. Conversations that used to energize you now feel draining. And you have been worried about this. You have been wondering, am I becoming cold? Am I losing my ability to enjoy life? No, you are not losing anything. You are outgrowing containers that were built for a smaller version of you. A cup that held everything you needed at level 2 cannot hold what you carry at level 5. The cup did not shrink. You expanded. The fourth sign is a heightened emotional sensitivity that startles you. You feel things more deeply than before. A piece of music can bring you to tears without warning. A stranger's pain can settle into your chest as if it were your own. A sunset can stop you mid-step with a beauty so overwhelming that your eyes water and you do not know why. This is not weakness. This is the removal of emotional armor. At the lower levels, you needed that armor to survive. At level 5, the armor is gone because you no longer need it. What you are feeling is not vulnerability. It is your original capacity for feeling, returned to you. The fifth sign is the way your dreams have intensified. You are having dreams that feel more like messages than movies, dreams with symbols that repeat, dreams where you wake up and the feeling stays with you for hours, sometimes days, dreams where someone speaks to you and the words are so clear that you look around the room to see if someone is actually there. At level 5, the barrier between your conscious mind and your spiritual perception becomes thinner. The dreams are not random, they are downloads. They are pieces of a larger picture that your waking mind is not yet able to assemble, but your spirit already understands. And the sixth sign, the one that perhaps unsettles you the most, is the way your thought patterns have simplified. You used to overthink everything. Every decision was a maze. Every conversation was analyzed from 12 different angles. But now, things have become strangely clear. You see through situations faster. You read people in seconds. You know things before they happen, not in some mystical, dramatic way, but in a quiet, settled way, like your mind has been cleaned of fog, and what remains is sharp, direct, undeniable knowing. And I have to pause here and ask you something. When did you first notice it? Not the big, dramatic shifts, the quiet one, the moment when you realized that the inside of you was changing faster than the outside. When was it? Was it a morning when you woke up and the first thought in your mind was not worry but stillness? Was it an afternoon when someone said something hurtful and instead of reacting, you simply observed it, like watching weather pass? Was it a night when you stood alone, and for the first time in years, being alone did not feel like punishment, it felt like sanctuary? That moment, whatever it was the threshold, the crossing, the invisible line between level 4 and level 5, and you walked across it so quietly that you did not even know it happened. But God knew. If you are still listening right now, it is because every word I have said has touched something inside you that recognizes itself. That recognition is not random. It is not coincidence. It is the most ancient form of confirmation there is, the moment when truth meets the one it was meant for. Now, what I have just described, these 6 signs, they are not random symptoms of stress or aging or burnout. The modern world would label them that way. A doctor might give you a diagnosis. A well-meaning friend might say you need a vacation. But what is actually happening is something far more precise. There is a figure in sacred history who understood exactly what you are going through right now. His name was Joseph, and his story is the clearest mirror I can give you for this moment in your journey. Joseph was a young man with a gift that terrified the people closest to him. He could see what others could not. He dreamed dreams that revealed futures, exposed hidden truths, and disrupted the comfortable narratives of everyone around him. And because of that gift, the very people who should have protected him, his own brothers, threw him into a pit and sold him into slavery. But here is the part most teachings skip. Joseph did not go from the pit to the palace. He went from the pit to a house of service, where he was falsely accused, then to a prison, where he was forgotten, and he stayed in that prison for years. Not weeks, not months, years. And during those years, nothing visible changed. No one came to rescue him. No angel appeared with a timeline. No prophet showed up to say, "Hold on, it is almost over." From the outside, Joseph's life looked like a waste. A gifted man rotting in a cell. But from the inside, something extraordinary was happening. Every single day in that prison, Joseph was being recalibrated. His arrogance was being sanded away. His dependence on human approval was being severed. His ability to interpret dreams, which started as a source of pride, was being refined into a tool of service. The prison was not his punishment, it was his formation chamber. It was the place where level 4 became level 5. And here is the detail that changed the way I understand this story. When Joseph finally stood before Pharaoh, the most powerful man in the known world, Joseph did not tremble. He did not perform. He did not try to impress. He simply spoke the truth with a clarity that stunned the room. That clarity did not come from talent. It came from the years of internal recalibration that no one saw. The silence, the stripping, the simplifying. Everything the prison took from Joseph was something he did not need at level 5. And everything the prison gave him was something no other experience could have built. You are Joseph in this story. Maybe not in a literal prison, but in a season where everything has been stripped, simplified, and recalibrated. And the clarity you are beginning to feel, that sharpness of perception, that settled knowing, that quieting of the mental noise, that is not coincidence. That is the exact same process that turned a dreamer in a cell into the second most powerful person in the ancient world. Now, if I stopped here, if this was all I had to share with you, it would already be more than most messages offer. You would already understand that what is happening inside you is not breakdown, but breakthrough. You would already have a framework, the 5 levels, that explains why your journey has been so different from everyone else's. And you would already have a name for where you are. But this is only the beginning. What I have just described is only the first dimension of level 5, the internal dimension. The changes happening inside your mind, your emotions, your perception, your dreams, your thought patterns. That is one layer. But there is a second dimension that goes much deeper, into a place most people are afraid to look. Because the second revelation is not about what is changing inside you. It is about what is changing between you and every person in your life. And what is happening there, chosen one, is something nobody warned you about. Before I take you into that second revelation, there is something we need to finish here. Because the internal shifts I just described, those 6 signs, they are the surface layer of a much deeper process. And that deeper process has a name. I call it the Great Unbecoming. You see, most people spend their entire lives becoming successful, becoming loved, becoming respected, becoming someone the world approves of. And at every level before this one, that is exactly what God asks of you. Become stronger, become wiser, become more patient, become more faithful. But at level 5, the instruction flips. God stops asking you to become. He starts asking you to unbecome, to peel off the layers that were never really you in the first place, to let go of identities that served you at lower levels but would crush you at this altitude. And that process, that unbecoming, is the most disorienting experience a human being can go through, because it feels like loss. It feels like dying. And in a very real sense, it is. Let me show you what I mean. There is a version of you, the one who learned to perform, who figured out early in life that love was not free, it was earned. That acceptance required a mask. That safety came from being useful, being productive, being the one who always showed up, always said yes, always put everyone else first. That version of you was brilliant at survival. It got you through childhood. It got you through broken relationships. It got you through seasons where the only way to make it was to keep producing, keep smiling, keep pretending everything was fine. And right now, at level 5, that version is dying. Not because you decided to kill it, but because God is gently, firmly, relentlessly peeling it away from you. And it hurts. Not like a wound from the outside, like a shedding from the inside. There is another version of you, the one who measured worth by output, the one who believed that a good day was a productive day, that your value was directly proportional to what you accomplished, how many people you helped, how much you achieved. That version kept score. It kept you pushing when your body begged you to stop. It kept you climbing when your soul needed to rest. It whispered, if you stop, you disappear. If you are not useful, you are not needed. If you are not needed, you are not loved. That version is being dismantled right now, and you can feel it. The drive that once felt like fire now feels like chains. The ambition that once propelled you forward now feels like a weight you no longer want to carry. Something inside you is whispering a terrifying and beautiful truth. I am not what I do. And that whisper is the sound of level 5, stripping away what level 3 built. There is a third version, the one who needed to be seen, who craved recognition, not out of vanity, but out of a deep, legitimate wound that said, I was overlooked my whole life, and if I can just prove myself, someone will finally notice. That version made you visible. It pushed you to develop skills, talents, gifts that the world could not ignore. And it worked. People noticed. People applauded. People depended on you. But at level 5, the applause sounds different. It sounds hollow. It sounds like it is clapping for a costume, not a person. And you have started to pull back from it, not out of false humility, out of a growing, undeniable awareness that the applause was feeding the wrong thing. It was feeding the performer. And the performer is not who you really are. There is a fourth version, the one who needed everyone to be okay, the caretaker, the fixer, the one who absorbed everyone else's pain because the alternative, letting people struggle, felt like abandonment. That version of you was born out of empathy, which is one of the most beautiful traits a human being can carry. But somewhere along the way, the empathy became entangled with control. Helping people became a way to feel needed. Carrying their weight became a way to avoid sitting with your own. And now, at level 5, God is asking you to put down what was never yours to carry, not because you do not care, but because you cannot fulfill your calling while buried under everyone else's. And there is a fifth version, perhaps the deepest one, the one who believed you were not enough, not smart enough, not spiritual enough, not disciplined enough, not gifted enough, not whatever enough. That belief predates every other identity you built. It was the original wound, the first lie that the world planted in your soil, and every version of you that came after, the performer, the producer, the visible one, the caretaker. They were all trying to disprove that one lie. They were all saying, maybe if I do this well enough, the feeling of not enough will finally go away. It never went away. Until now. Because here is what is happening at level 5 that did not happen at any level before. God is not asking you to build a better version of yourself on top of the old one. He is asking you to let the old versions go entirely. All of them. Not fix them. Not improve them. Release them. I want you to picture a mountain. You have been climbing this mountain your whole life. At the base, you packed supplies, heavy ones, things you thought you needed: approval, control, performance, recognition, the belief that you had to earn your place. And at each camp along the way, you picked up more. Tools for survival, strategies for endurance, armor for protection. But now, you are at an altitude where the air is thin, where every extra ounce you carry could pull you backward. And God is standing at this altitude, not with a list of new things for you to do, but with open hands, saying, "Give it to me," the performer. "Give it to me," the producer. "Give it to me," the fixer. "Give it to me," the one who was never enough. "Give it to me." He is not taking things from you. He is making you light enough to survive the summit. And this is where I need to speak directly to something that many of you are feeling right now but have not told anyone about, because it is the kind of thing that feels too vulnerable to say out loud. You are wondering if you actually belong at this level. There is a voice inside you, not the voice of God, not the voice of wisdom, but a quieter, older voice, a voice that has been with you since you were small, and it is saying, "Who are you to be here? What makes you think you deserve this level? What if this is all in your head? What if tomorrow you wake up and realize you imagined the whole thing?" I hear you, and I want you to know that this voice is not your enemy, but it is also not your truth. This voice is the final false identity being stripped away. Every other layer had a face, a name, a role. But this one is invisible. It does not perform. It does not produce. It does not caretake. It simply whispers, "Not enough, not enough, not enough," on a loop so constant that you stopped hearing it as a lie and started accepting it as a fact. Here is what I need you to understand. At every previous level, doubt was a threat, something to fight, something to overcome with faith and determination. But at level 5, doubt plays a different role. At level 5, doubt is the final exam. Not the kind of exam where you prove your knowledge, the kind where you prove your trust. The answer to the voice that says, "Who are you to be here?" is not a list of accomplishments. It is not a spiritual resume. It is not evidence of worthiness. The answer is the simplest, most terrifying sentence a human being can speak. I trust that God put me here. Not because I understand it, not because I feel ready, not because the evidence supports it, but because every step that led me to this place was His step before it was mine. Let me say that differently, because I want it to land in the deepest part of you. You did not earn level 5. You cannot earn level 5. The very idea of earning it belongs to the lower levels, where performance was currency and effort was the price of admission. Level 5 is not earned. It is arrived at, through fires you did not choose, through deserts you did not plan, through losses you did not deserve. The fact that you are standing here is not proof of your strength. It is proof of His faithfulness. And the moment you stop trying to justify your presence at this level is the moment you finally begin to live at this level. The doubt will not disappear overnight. It may visit you tomorrow. It may whisper again next week. But now you have language for it. Now you know what it is. It is not truth. It is the last coat of old paint being scraped away. And underneath it, underneath every false identity, every performance, every mask, is the surface that was always there. You, the original you. Before the world got to you. Before the systems told you who to be. Before the wounds taught you to hide. That version has been waiting. And at level 5, for the first time, there is nothing standing between you and that person. Now, there is something I want to teach you. A specific practice designed for exactly where you are right now. Not a beginner's practice. Not something that works at level 2 or 3, This is a level 5 tool, and it is called the three-gate discernment. At this altitude, the decisions you face are different. They are not about right versus wrong. Those were level 3 decisions. At level 5, the decisions are between good and good, between two open doors that both look like they could be from God, between a calling that pulls you one way and a conviction that pulls you another. The stakes are higher here, not because the choices are more dangerous, but because the impact of your choices reaches further than it ever has before. So here is the framework. 3 gates. Every significant decision you face at this level needs to pass through all 3 before you act. The first gate is the body gate. Before you analyze, before you pray, before you ask anyone for advice, check your body. Not your emotions, your body. When you think about this decision, what does your chest do? Does it expand, open, soften, or does it tighten, contract, resist? Your body has been registering spiritual truth since before you could speak. Infants know the difference between a safe presence and a threatening one without a single word being exchanged. Your body still carries that intelligence. At level 5, you have access to it in a way you never did before, because the mental noise has quieted enough for the body's signal to come through. So ask yourself, when I sit with this decision in silence, does my body say yes, or does my body say wait? The second gate is the fruit gate. This one requires a different kind of honesty. Look at the decision in front of you and ask, what does this produce in me when I imagine living it out? Not what does it produce in my circumstances, not what results it brings. What does it produce in me? Does imagining this path produce peace, even uncomfortable peace? Or does it produce anxiety dressed up as excitement? Does it produce patience and trust? Or does it produce a frantic urgency, a need to rush, a fear that if I do not act immediately, something will be lost? At level 5, the fruit of a God-directed decision is almost always peace mixed with gravity. It feels weighty, it feels serious, but it does not feel frantic. If a decision feels desperate, it is almost certainly not from the highest source. Desperation belongs to the lower levels. Level 5 moves with calm authority. The third gate is the time gate. This one is the simplest and the most difficult. Take the decision and do nothing with it for 72 hours, 3 days. Do not act, do not discuss, do not research, simply hold it, carry it quietly, and watch. Watch whether the clarity grows or fades. Watch whether the conviction deepens or dissolves. Watch whether your body continues to open or begins to close. Most impulses, even spiritual ones, will lose their urgency within 72 hours. What remains after 3 days of silence is almost always trustworthy. What disappears was almost always noise. 3 gates: body, fruit, time. Write this down if you need to, or simply let it settle into you. This framework will serve you at this level in ways that no amount of advice from well-meaning people can match. Because at level 5, the counsel of others begins to reach its limit, not because people do not care, but because very few people have stood where you are standing. And wisdom that was forged at level 2 does not always translate to level 5 terrain. Which brings me to something I need to address before we move forward. Something that many of you have felt for a long time, but have been afraid to admit because it sounds arrogant. And the last thing a chosen one at level 5 wants to be is arrogant. You are lonely. Not the loneliness of level 2, where you felt rejected and unseen. That was a loneliness of absence, the ache of not having people around you. What you are experiencing now is different. You have people around you. You may have family, friends, a community. But the loneliness you feel is the loneliness of altitude. You are standing at a height where the air is thin and the view is vast, and when you try to describe what you see, the people you love look at you with confusion, not hostility. Confusion. They cannot see what you see, not because they do not love you, because they are not standing where you are standing. And that creates a specific kind of pain. The pain of being present in a room full of people and feeling like you are speaking a language no one else learned. The pain of holding a truth so clearly that you assume everyone else must see it too, and then realizing, slowly, quietly, devastatingly, that they do not. The pain of simplifying yourself so that others feel comfortable, and knowing that every time you do, you betray the level you have reached. This is the loneliness of level 5. And I am not going to tell you it goes away, because at this altitude, it does not go away. It transforms. It stops being a wound and becomes a space. A sovereign space that belongs only to you and God. A space where the deepest conversations of your life happen, not with other human beings, but with the source directly. And in that space, you discover something that changes everything. You are not alone. You are alone with God. And that is the most populated solitude a human being can experience. There are others at this level. Not many, but they exist. And when you encounter one, you will not need to explain yourself. You will not need to perform or prove or convince. You will simply look at each other and know. Like two climbers on neighboring peaks, too far apart to touch, but close enough to see. And that silent recognition across distance will fill something in you that no crowded room ever could. And here is where something extraordinary connects. Scientists, neuroscientists working at some of the most respected institutions in the world, have discovered something about the human brain that aligns almost perfectly with what I am describing. They have found that when the brain operates at its highest frequency, a frequency called gamma, the experience maps almost identically onto what spiritual traditions have described for centuries as heightened consciousness, clarity without effort, pattern recognition that borders on precognition, emotional depth without emotional chaos, creative flow that arrives like water from an open tap. And here is the part that matters. They have also discovered that this gamma frequency, which every child is born with in abundance, begins to decline around the age of 7, something they call the decline effect. The systems of the modern world, education, socialization, the relentless pressure to conform, gradually suppress the very brainwave that makes a human being operate at their highest level. There is a discovery from Princeton, one that I will share with you in full later in this message, about what happens when that gamma frequency is reactivated, about what happens when the brain is brought back to the state it was designed to operate in. It is one of the most remarkable findings in modern neuroscience, and it connects directly to where you are standing right now, at level 5, where your spirit has arrived at the summit, but your biology may not yet have caught up. We will come back to this. I promise you, it will be worth the wait. Now, if you have been with me this far, chosen one, I need to tell you what I see when I look at you. Not literally, of course, but spiritually, energetically, in the way that truth sees truth. I see someone who has been quietly carrying a revolution inside them. Someone who walks into rooms and changes the temperature without trying. Someone who has spent years being told they are too sensitive, too intense, too much, and who has started to wonder if maybe the world is right. The world is not right. You are not too much. You are exactly the right amount for the level you have reached. And the people who told you to tone it down were operating at a frequency that could not hold what you carry. That is not their fault. But it is not yours either. Everything I have shared with you so far, the internal shifts, the unbecoming, the stripping of false identities, the doubt as a final exam, the discernment framework, the loneliness of altitude. This is the first revelation, the first dimension of level 5. What is changing inside you? But what I have been building toward this entire time, what I have been carefully laying the groundwork for, is the second dimension, the one that will change the way you understand every relationship in your life. Because what is happening at level 5 is not just internal. Something is rearranging the people around you. And what I am about to show you next, Chosen One, will explain a pattern that has been tormenting you for months, maybe years, and no one has been able to tell you why, until now. Take a breath, Chosen One. What I just walked you through was heavy. The unbecoming, the stripping of identities you have carried for decades, the doubt that whispers at the door of level 5. That was necessary. But what comes next requires a different kind of courage. Not the courage to look inward, the courage to look around you, at the people in your life, at the spaces between you and them, because something is happening there that you have noticed but have not been able to name. This is the second revelation, the second dimension of level 5, and it is about what happens to your relationships when you cross into a level that the people around you have not reached. I want you to think about the last 6 months of your life, not the events, the people. Think about who has moved closer to you and who has drifted away. Think about the conversations that used to feel easy and now feel like you are speaking through glass. Think about the friends who stopped calling, not out of anger, not because of a fight, but because something invisible shifted and neither of you knew how to talk about it. Think about the family members who look at you now with a slight confusion in their eyes, as if they recognize your face but no longer fully recognize the person behind it. What you have been experiencing is not rejection, it is not betrayal, it is not abandonment, it is reorganization, and it follows a pattern so consistent, so predictable across every chosen one who reaches this level, that once I describe it to you, you will never unsee it. There are 4 patterns, 4 specific ways that relationships rearrange themselves when a person enters level 5. Every single one of them has been happening in your life, and every single one of them has a purpose you did not understand until right now. The first pattern is what I call the quiet departure. This is the one that hurts the most, because it comes without warning and without explanation. People you have known for years, people you considered close, people you would have said would be in your life forever, they begin to pull away. Not dramatically, not with arguments or confrontations. They simply become less present. The texts slow down. The calls stop coming. The invitations dry up, and when you do see them, there is a politeness that was not there before, a distance dressed up as courtesy. And here is what makes this so painful. You did nothing wrong. You did not offend them. You did not push them away. What happened is far simpler and far more difficult to accept. You changed frequencies. You shifted to a level they are not operating on. And just like a radio that loses a station when you drive too far from the tower, the signal between you and these people weakened. Not because the love ended, but because the alignment did. And I want to be very clear about something. This is not their failure. It is not a judgment on their character or their spiritual maturity. They may be exactly where God needs them to be, at level 2 or 3, doing important work, learning important lessons. Their departure from your daily life does not mean they are less than you. It means the season of overlap has ended. And holding on to people whose season has passed is one of the most common mistakes chosen ones make at level 5. You hold on because it feels like love. But real love, the kind that operates at this altitude, knows when to release with gratitude instead of gripping with fear. The second pattern is what I call the discomfort effect, and this one is stranger than the first because it does not involve people leaving. It involves people staying, but becoming visibly uncomfortable in your presence. You have noticed it in the way certain people fidget when you speak, in the way they change the subject when the conversation goes deeper than surface level, in the way their eyes shift or their energy contracts when you walk into a room. You are not imagining this. And for a long time you assumed it was something you were doing wrong, that maybe you were too intense, too serious, too much. But here is the truth. Your peace disturbs their chaos. Let me say that again. Your peace, the calm, settled presence that you carry at level 5, the stillness that came from all those years of being stripped and tested and refined, that peace is confronting to people who have not yet faced their own internal noise. When you sit in a room without performing, without people-pleasing, without filling silence with chatter, the people around you are forced to sit with themselves, and for many of them, that is deeply uncomfortable. Not because you are doing anything to them, but because your presence removes the distractions they have been hiding behind. Think of it this way. If you have ever been in a perfectly quiet room with someone who is at peace, you know how loud your own thoughts become. The peaceful person did not create your thoughts. They simply removed the background noise that was covering them up. That is what you are doing at level 5. You walk into spaces and the noise drops. And the people who depend on noise to avoid their own truth find your presence unbearable, not because you are harmful, but because you are honest. And honesty without words is the most confronting force on earth. The third pattern is one that confuses many chosen ones because it seems to contradict the first two. I call it the unexpected magnetism. While some people pull away and others become uncomfortable, a new and entirely different group of people begins appearing in your life. Strangers who approach you for no logical reason. Someone in a grocery store who starts a conversation and within 3 minutes shares something deeply personal. A co-worker you barely knew who suddenly seeks you out for advice. A person you meet at random who seems to see you, really see you, in a way that the people closest to you have not been able to. This is not coincidence. At level 5, you carry what I can only describe as a gravitational field. Your frequency, the one that repels people who are not aligned, simultaneously attracts people who are. And these new arrivals, they do not come with fanfare. They do not announce themselves as your next chapter. They simply appear, and when they do, the conversation feels different. It feels easy. It feels like you are speaking with someone who learned the same language in a different country. The understanding is instant. The trust is immediate. And you walk away thinking, where did that person come from? They came from the same level you are on. Maybe not level 5 yet. Maybe level 4. On their way. But they are close enough to your frequency that the signal reaches them. And these connections, the ones that arrive without effort, without networking, without strategy, these are the relationships that level 5 is preparing for you. They will not look like your old friendships. They will not feel like your old relationships. They will feel quieter, deeper, less performative, and they will sustain you in ways that the crowded rooms of your earlier levels never could. The fourth pattern is the most powerful, and it is the one that will define your impact at this level for the rest of your life. I call it the mirror effect, and it works like this. At level 5, your presence forces people to confront their own truth, not because you preach, not because you lecture, not because you point out their flaws or give unsolicited advice. You do not have to say a single word. Simply by being who you are, by living from the stripped-down, consecrated, authentic core of your being, you become a mirror. And when people stand near a mirror, they see themselves. Some people will see themselves and be inspired. They will look at your peace and think, I want that. They will look at your clarity and think, that is possible for me too. And they will begin their own journey toward the deeper levels, not because you told them to, but because your life gave them permission to believe it was real. Other people will see themselves and be enraged. They will look at your peace, and it will highlight their chaos. They will look at your authenticity, and it will expose their performance. And instead of turning inward, they will turn on you. They will call you arrogant. They will call you distant. They will say you have changed, and they will not mean it as a compliment. And you need to understand, deeply, permanently, that their reaction is not about you. It is about the reflection. No one gets angry at a mirror for showing them what is there. But many people want to shatter the mirror rather than face what it reveals. There is a woman in sacred history whose story captures all four of these patterns perfectly. Her name was Esther, and what happened to her relationships when she stepped into her level is one of the most instructive accounts ever recorded. Esther was a young woman who grew up hidden, orphaned, raised by a relative. Nothing about her external circumstances suggested she was destined for anything remarkable. She blended in. She was overlooked. She lived at the level of the invisible. And then something shifted. She was placed in a palace, surrounded by people who did not know who she really was. And for a long season, she stayed hidden even there. She performed the role she was given. She kept her true identity concealed. She survived by fitting in. But then the moment came. The moment when the level she had been prepared for required her to stop hiding, to step forward, to reveal who she truly was. And the instant she did, every relationship around her reorganized. The people who had known her as the quiet, agreeable girl were stunned. Some pulled away. The quiet departure. The power structures around her became uncomfortable. The discomfort effect. New allies appeared from unexpected places. The unexpected magnetism. People she had never counted on stepped forward to support her. And her very presence in the room, standing in her truth, became a mirror that forced every person there to choose. Will I stand with truth, or will I hide from it? This pattern is not unique to Esther. It happened to Joseph when he went from prisoner to palace advisor. His brothers, who had written him off, could not recognize the man standing before them. It happened to Moses when he returned from 40 years of formation, and suddenly the people who knew him as a fugitive had to reckon with the leader he had become. It happened to David when the shepherd boy walked into a court of warriors, and the king himself felt threatened by a teenager with a sling. And it is happening to you right now. Your relationships are not falling apart. They are being reorganized by the same force that reorganized the courts of kings and the councils of nations. And the reorganization is not random. It is architectural. It is making room for what is coming. Now, knowing all of this, the question becomes, how do you navigate it? Because understanding the pattern does not automatically make it painless. You still have to live through the departures. You still have to stand in rooms where your presence makes people squirm. You still have to resist the temptation to shrink yourself back to a size that makes everyone else comfortable. So let me give you 3 principles for navigating relationships at level 5. The first principle is this: do not chase departing people. When someone begins to pull away, your instinct, especially if you carry the caretaker identity we talked about earlier, will be to reach out, to fix it, to ask what went wrong, to try harder. Resist that instinct. Not every departure is a wound. Some departures are completions. They served their purpose. The season of overlap is finished. And chasing someone whose frequency no longer matches yours is like driving back toward a radio station you have already passed. The signal will not get stronger. It will only fill your car with static. Let them go with love. Thank them silently for what they gave you. And keep climbing. The second principle is equally important. Do not shrink to make others comfortable. This is perhaps the greatest temptation at level 5. Because you are deeply empathetic, you feel the discomfort you cause in others, and your first impulse is to soften it, to dim your light, to quiet your voice, to make yourself smaller so that the people around you can breathe easier. I need you to hear me clearly on this. Shrinking is level 3 behavior. It belongs to the season where your survival depended on fitting in. At level 5, shrinking is not humility. It is betrayal. It is betrayal of the journey that brought you here. It is betrayal of the gifts that were forged in you through fire. And it is betrayal of every person who needs the full version of you to find their own courage. You do not owe anyone a smaller version of yourself. And the third principle: do not rush the new connections. The people who are being drawn to you at this level, the ones who see you, the ones who match your frequency, they will arrive in their own time. You cannot force them. You cannot manufacture them. You cannot speed up the process by joining groups or networking or putting yourself in strategic positions. Level 5 connections are not built by strategy. They are built by resonance. And resonance cannot be faked or accelerated. Your only job is to continue being fully, unapologetically who you are, and trust that the right people are being drawn by the signal you are already broadcasting. And it is not just you. Right now, across the world, chosen ones at this same level are experiencing the exact same relational reorganization, the same departures, the same discomfort, the same unexpected arrivals, the same mirror effect. You are not alone in this, even if it feels that way. There is a silent network of level 5 souls who are waking up at the same hour, feeling the same shifts, carrying the same weight, and looking up at the same sky, wondering if anyone else understands. They do. They are out there. And the fact that you cannot see them yet does not mean they are not real. The mountain has many peaks, and from the one you are standing on, you will begin to see them. Remember what I said about the mountain, how the air gets thinner as you climb. What I have been describing about relationships is the relational thinning, fewer people, but deeper connections, less noise, but clearer signal. And the loneliness that comes with that thinning is not emptiness, it is spaciousness, room for what is coming. But now I need to show you the view from this altitude, because what you can see from level 5, chosen one, is something that will take your breath away, and it has nothing to do with you personally. It has to do with your position in something so much larger than your individual story that when you finally see it, the word lonely will lose all meaning. But before I take you to that view, there is one more tool I need to place in your hands. Because at level 5, the way energy moves through your life has fundamentally changed. And if you do not understand that change, you will keep pouring yourself into things that drain you and starving the things that restore you, not out of ignorance, but out of habit. Old habits from old levels that no longer apply here. At levels 2 and 3, you knew what drained you and what restored you. Social events might have drained you while alone time restored you. Or maybe it was the opposite. Physical exercise might have restored you while financial stress drained you. Those patterns were relatively stable and you learned to manage them over time. But at level 5, something strange has happened. The list has scrambled. Things that used to energize you now leave you flat. Activities that used to be neutral, things you never thought twice about, now either fill you with life or empty you completely. And the shift happened so gradually that you have been operating on outdated information, making choices based on a version of yourself that no longer exists. So here is what I want you to do. Not right now, but sometime in the next 24 hours, when you have a quiet moment. In your mind, walk through a typical week. Every recurring activity, Every relationship that takes your time, every commitment, every habit, every routine. And for each one, ask yourself one simple question. Does this rise me, or does this sink me? Not, does this make me happy? Happiness is too shallow a metric for level 5. Not, does this make sense logically? Logic served you well at level 3. But at this altitude, logic alone will lead you off cliffs. The question is simpler and deeper than both. Does this rise me, or does this sink me? When I engage with this person, this activity, this commitment, do I feel myself rising, expanding, becoming more of who I am? Or do I feel myself sinking, contracting, becoming a smaller, more tired, more muted version of myself? At level 5, the answers will surprise you. Relationships you thought were sustaining you may turn out to be sinking you, not because the people are bad, but because the frequency mismatch creates invisible friction that drains you without either party understanding why. Routines you have maintained for years, things you assumed were part of your identity, may turn out to be anchors from a previous level that are weighing you down. And things you dismissed as unimportant, sitting in silence, walking without destination, watching light move across a wall, may turn out to be the very things that restore you at this altitude. This is not about cutting people off or abandoning responsibilities. This is about awareness. Because at level 5, energy management is not a luxury, it is a survival skill. You are carrying more than you ever have. Your frequency affects not just you, but the people and environments around you. And if you are constantly drained, constantly running on empty, constantly pouring from a cup that no one is filling, you will not be able to sustain the level you have reached. Not because you are weak, but because even the strongest signal dies without a power source. So do the audit. Rise or sink. Go through your entire week and pay attention, not to what your mind tells you, to what your body tells you. Remember the body gate from the discernment practice. Your body knows. It has always known. And at level 5, it speaks clearly enough for you to hear. Now, you have been with me for a long time, chosen one. And that is not casual. That is not something that happens by accident. Most people do not stay for a message this long. Most people do not have the capacity to hold this much truth at once. But you are still here. And the fact that you are still here tells me something about who you are that I want to speak directly. You are not someone who consumes content. You are someone who receives it. There is a difference. A consumer takes in information and moves on. A receiver lets it change them. And the way you have been sitting with this message, absorbing it, letting it work its way through the layers of your being, that is the behavior of a level 5 soul. You could not do this at level 2. You did not have the capacity. You could not do this at level 3. You did not have the patience. But here you are, and I do not take that lightly. And before this message ends, I am going to speak something over your life. A declaration, an activation, a spoken word that I believe God has placed on this message specifically for you, for this exact moment in your journey. It is not motivation. It is not a pep talk. It is something far more sacred than that. And when we arrive at that moment, I need you to be fully present, not multitasking, not half listening, fully there, because what I am going to speak over you will stay with you long after today. But we are not there yet. There is one more revelation before we reach that place, and this one, chosen one, is the one that changes everything. Let me take you back to the mountain. You have been climbing for a long time, and at the lower altitudes, the climb was about survival, putting one foot in front of the other, finding shelter, finding water, finding the strength to keep going when every part of you wanted to stop. The view at those levels was limited. You could see the trail behind you and the rock face in front of you, and that was enough. You did not need to see further. Survival does not require perspective. It requires persistence. But now you have reached an altitude where the landscape opens, where you can see not just your own trail, but the trails of 1,000 others climbing their own mountains, where you can see the valleys you crossed and the rivers you forded and the storms you weathered, all laid out below you like a map drawn by a hand far steadier than your own. And from this height, something becomes visible that was invisible at every previous level. You are not climbing alone, and you were never climbing just for yourself. This is the third revelation, and it is the one that will rewrite the way you understand your entire journey. Everything I have shared with you so far has been personal. The internal shifts, how you are changing, the relational patterns, how your relationships are reorganizing. Those revelations were about you, and they were true, and they were important. But the third revelation is not about you. It is about what your elevation means for the larger design that God is building. Because here is what most people, even most spiritual people, never understand. God does not elevate someone to level 5 for their own benefit alone. He does not strip away your false identities, reorganize your relationships, sharpen your discernment, and heighten your frequency just so that you can feel better about your personal journey. He does all of that because something in the larger architecture requires your presence at this altitude. Let me explain what I mean. There are 3 cosmic roles that every level 5 soul fulfills. You are already fulfilling them. You just did not know it had a name. The first role is the anchor. Think about what happens in a storm when a boat has no anchor. It drifts, it crashes, it is at the mercy of every wave and every gust of wind. Now think about the people in your life, your family, your community, the circles you move in. Whether you realize it or not, you have become the anchor in those systems. Not because you do anything dramatic, not because you stand up and take charge, but because your presence, your settled, stripped down, consecrated presence, creates a gravitational center that holds things in place when everything else is spinning. You have seen this. You have been in situations where tension was rising, where people were panicking, where the energy in a room was spiraling, and you stood still. You did not fix it. You did not control it. You simply did not spiral with them, and something in the room shifted. The temperature dropped. The chaos eased. People exhaled. And afterward, they could not explain why things calmed down. But you know why. Because an anchor was in the room. This is not a skill you learned. This is a byproduct of level 5. The stillness you carry, the peace that was forged in the fires of your testing and stripping, that stillness radiates. It extends beyond your body. It enters the room before you do, and stays after you leave. And in a world that is spinning faster and faster, a world drowning in anxiety and reactivity and noise, the value of a human being who can simply be still is incalculable. The second role is the transmitter. And this one may resonate with you more deeply than any word I have spoken so far. Have you ever said something to someone, something simple, something you did not think much about, and watched their entire face change, watched their eyes fill with tears, watched them whisper, "That is exactly what I needed to hear." And you stood there wondering, where did those words come from? Because you did not plan them. You did not rehearse them. They moved through you like water through a pipe, from somewhere deeper than your conscious mind, into the exact place the other person needed them to land. That is the transmitter role. At level 5, you become a channel for wisdom that does not originate with you. God speaks through your life, through your words, through your very presence, in ways that reach people who cannot hear him directly. Not because they are deaf to him, but because they need a human frequency to carry the signal. They need someone standing close enough to them, in a body, in a voice, in a face they can see, to deliver what the heavens are trying to say. And the terrifying and beautiful truth about being a transmitter is that you often do not know when it is happening. The most profound words you ever speak may be the ones you forget by the next morning. The conversation that changes someone's entire trajectory may feel to you like small talk, because that is how level 5 transmission works. It does not require your awareness. It requires your availability, your willingness to stay open, your surrender to being used as a vessel without needing to control what flows through you. The third role is the one that carries the most weight, and I need you to receive this carefully, because it may challenge the way you see yourself. You are a gateway, not a gatekeeper, not someone who controls access. A gateway, which means your breakthrough, your elevation, your arrival at level 5 is not just for you. It creates a passage for others who are behind you on the mountain, others who are still at level 3 or level 4, fighting their way through the wilderness, wondering if the summit is even real. Your presence at this altitude is proof, living proof, that it can be done, that the fires do not destroy you, that the stripping does not erase you, that the loneliness does not consume you, that level 5 is real, and that a human being can stand here and breathe. And here is what you need to understand. Some of the people who will follow you through this gateway are people you will never meet. They will hear your story secondhand. They will watch your life from a distance. They will see the calm in your eyes or the steady in your voice, and something inside them will ignite, not because you preached, not because you built a platform, but because your existence at this level gave them permission to believe it was possible for them too. Moses understood this. When God called Moses up Mount Sinai, he did not call the entire nation. He called one man, and Moses climbed alone, into the cloud, into the fire, into the presence. And for 40 days, the nation waited below, watching the mountain burn, hearing the thunder, not knowing if Moses would come back alive. But here is the part that most people miss. The purpose of Moses going up was not just about Moses receiving something. It was about what Moses would bring back down, the tablets, the law, the instructions for how a nation of freed slaves could become a civilization. Moses did not climb for himself. He climbed because the people below could not survive without what was at the summit. His elevation was the mechanism for their transformation. And your climb to level 5 follows the same pattern. You are not up here for yourself. You are up here because there are people, families, communities, perhaps generations, who cannot receive what they need unless someone goes to the altitude where it is kept. You are the one who was sent to get it. And everything you have endured, every fire, every desert, every stripping, every lonely night where heaven seemed silent, was the cost of climbing high enough to reach what was meant for them. This is why the loneliness of level 5 is not the final word. Because from this altitude, you are not just seeing the view. You are carrying something back for everyone below. And the moment you understand that, the loneliness transforms. It stops being a punishment and becomes a commission. You are not isolated. You are positioned. And here is where something remarkable enters the picture. Something that bridges the spiritual reality I have been describing with a scientific discovery that validates it in a way I did not expect. Neuroscientists at Princeton conducted a series of experiments on what they call neural field effects. They discovered that individuals whose brains consistently operate in the gamma frequency range do not just experience internal changes, the heightened clarity, the intuition, the flow states. They also produce measurable effects on the people and environments around them. The researchers documented changes in the brain patterns of nearby individuals, changes that occurred without any verbal communication, without any physical contact, simply through proximity to a person operating at sustained high-frequency gamma. Think about that. Science is now confirming what spiritual traditions have taught for millennia, that a human being who operates at their highest frequency does not just transform themselves, they transform the field around them. They become, in scientific terms, exactly what I described: an anchor, a transmitter, a gateway, not through effort, not through will, but through the frequency they carry. And here is the connection that I promised to return to. That gamma frequency, the one that makes all of this possible, the one that was abundant in your childhood and has been slowly suppressed by the modern world. There is a way to reactivate it, a specific tool grounded in 34 years of neuroscience research that helps the brain return to the state it was designed for. I will share this with you fully before this message ends, because if your spirit has arrived at level 5 but your brain has not yet caught up, then understanding the gamma connection is not optional, it is essential. We are almost there. But first, the final revelation. Because everything I have shown you so far, the internal shifts, the relational reorganization, the cosmic architecture, these are 3 dimensions of a single truth. And that single truth, the one that ties all 3 together and recontextualizes your entire life, is what I call the mega revelation. It is the truth underneath all the other truths, the one that, once you hear it, will change the way you understand not just level 5, but every level you have ever walked through. And what I am about to share next is the reason this entire message exists. Everything before was preparation. This, chosen one, is the revelation. But before I give you that revelation, I need to stop and address something that I would be irresponsible to skip. Because level 5 is not all beauty and breakthrough. There is a shadow side to this altitude that no one talks about. And if I hand you the mega revelation without first warning you about the dangers that exist at this level, I would be sending you into a battlefield without armor. So stay with me here. What I am about to walk you through may be uncomfortable, but it will protect you in ways that no amount of inspiration ever could. There are 5 specific dangers that exist at level 5, 5 threats that do not exist at the lower levels. And the reason they are so dangerous is precisely because they do not look like threats. They disguise themselves as strengths. They hide inside the very gifts that your journey has built in you. And if you do not learn to recognize them, they will quietly dismantle everything you have been elevated to carry. The first danger is spiritual pride, and I need to be very careful with how I describe this, because there is a difference between pride and confidence, and at level 5, the line between them becomes almost invisible. Here is how spiritual pride enters. You have been through things that most people have not. You have survived fires that would have destroyed others. You have reached a level of clarity, perception, and spiritual depth that is genuinely rare. All of that is true, and it is precisely because it is true that the danger is so subtle, because the moment you begin to look at the people around you, the ones at level 2 or 3, and feel a flicker of superiority, a whisper of, "I am further along than they are," a quiet judgment disguised as observation, that is spiritual pride, and it will poison level 5 faster than any external enemy ever could. Spiritual pride does not announce itself. It does not walk in wearing a crown. It slips in through the back door dressed as discernment. It sounds like wisdom. It feels like clarity. But underneath, it is the oldest trap in the human experience. The belief that elevation makes you better than others, rather than responsible for others. Moses did not go up the mountain to look down at the people below. He went up to bring something back for them. The moment your altitude becomes a viewing platform for judgment instead of a launching point for service, you have fallen from level 5 without even realizing you left. The second danger is prophetic isolation, and this one is particularly seductive for chosen ones who carry the seer identity. At level 5, you see things other people cannot see. You see patterns before they unfold. You sense shifts before they arrive. You read rooms, situations, and people with a precision that startles even you. And that sight is a genuine gift. It is one of the most valuable capabilities a human being can carry. But here is the danger. When you can see what others cannot, it becomes very easy to use that sight as a wall instead of a bridge. To withdraw from people because they are too slow. To pull back from community because being around people who cannot see what you see feels exhausting. To build a fortress of perception and stand inside it alone, convinced that isolation is the price of vision. It is not. Isolation is the corruption of vision. The purpose of seeing clearly is not to separate yourself from the world. It is to serve the world with what you see. A lighthouse that removes itself from the shore because the darkness is too heavy is no longer a lighthouse. It is just a light with no purpose. Your sight was given to you for others. The moment it becomes a reason to withdraw from them, it has been hijacked by something that is not from God. The third danger is compassion fatigue. And this one hits the hardest because it attacks your greatest strength. You feel deeply. You carry other people's pain in your body without being asked. You walk into a room and absorb the emotional atmosphere like a sponge absorbs water. And at level 5, this capacity has intensified. You feel more than you have ever felt. And the weight of it, the sheer mass of human suffering that your open heart collects on a daily basis, it is crushing you. You may not even realize it is happening, because you have been carrying weight for so long that heaviness feels normal. You have confused exhaustion with calling. You have told yourself that this is what it means to be chosen, to bear the burdens of others until your own body breaks. And I need to tell you, with the authority of someone who understands this pattern deeply, that is a lie. Compassion was never meant to destroy the compassionate. God did not give you the ability to feel deeply so that you could drown in other people's oceans. He gave you that ability so that you could reach into their water and pull them toward shore. But you cannot pull anyone to shore if you are drowning yourself. The airline instruction applies here. Put on your own mask before assisting others. Not because you matter more, because you cannot save anyone from the bottom of the sea. At level 5, learning the boundary between empathy and absorption is not optional. It is the difference between a long, impactful life of service and a short, burnout-fueled collapse that helps no one. The fourth danger is premature revelation, and this one has caused more damage in the lives of level 5 souls than almost any other. You carry truth, deep truth, truth that you have earned through years of fire and formation. And the impulse to share that truth is strong, because truth wants to be spoken, and the world desperately needs what you carry. But here is what level 5 teaches you that no other level can. Not every truth is meant for every person in every moment. A seed planted in unprepared soil does not grow, it rots. And a truth spoken to someone who is not ready to receive it does not liberate them. It overwhelms them. Or worse, it provokes them to attack the messenger. Think about the times you shared something you saw clearly, something true, something that came from the deepest place in you, and the person you shared it with reacted badly. Not with curiosity, not with gratitude, with anger, with dismissal, with that look in their eyes that says, "Who do you think you are?" And you walked away wondering, did I do something wrong? You did not do anything wrong, but you may have done it too early. Timing at level 5 matters more than content. What you say matters less than when you say it, and learning to hold truth patiently, to carry it without forcing it, to wait for the moment when the soil is ready, this is one of the most difficult and most essential skills of this altitude. The wise farmer does not throw seeds onto frozen ground and blame the seed when nothing grows. The wise farmer waits, and then waits more, and plants only when the season is right. And the fifth danger, the one that I have saved for last, because it is the most pervasive, the most invisible, and the most destructive of all. It is identity confusion. And it works like this. You have reached level 5. You know you are at level 5. You have the internal evidence, the relational evidence, the cosmic evidence. And slowly, subtly, without you noticing, you begin to merge your identity with the level itself. You stop saying, I am a person who is standing at level 5, and you start saying, I am level 5. The level becomes who you are, instead of where you are. Your identity fuses with your altitude, and the moment that happens, you become fragile in a way you have never been before. Because levels can shift, seasons can change. There may be days when the clarity fades and the fog returns. There may be weeks when the peace is disrupted and the old noise comes back. And if your identity is fused with the level, then every dip feels like annihilation. Every moment of doubt feels like falling off the mountain entirely. Every bad day becomes evidence that you never belonged here in the first place. Listen to me carefully. You are not level 5. You are a child of God who happens to be standing at level 5. Your identity does not come from your altitude. It comes from your source. And the difference between those two things is the difference between a tree that bends in the wind and survives and a tree that is rigid and snaps. If you are rooted in your level, the first storm will break you. If you are rooted in God, no storm at any level can touch who you actually are. So hold the level loosely. Stand here firmly. Yes. Walk in the authority of this altitude. Absolutely. But do not tattoo it onto your identity, because God did not bring you to level 5 so that you could worship level 5. He brought you here so that you could worship him from a vantage point that most people never see. And this brings me back to the deeper truth about the doubt you have been feeling, the voice that whispers, are you really here? What if you imagined this? What if tomorrow it all disappears? I told you earlier that doubt at level 5 is the final exam. Let me now tell you what the exam is actually testing. It is not testing your faith. You have proven your faith 100 times over. You would not be standing here if your faith had not survived every fire that came before this one. It is not testing your endurance. You have endured more than most people will face in 3 lifetimes. The doubt at level 5 is testing one thing and one thing only. Your trust, not your trust in yourself, not your trust in the process, your trust in God. Specifically, your willingness to stand at a height you cannot explain, in a position you did not earn, carrying an authority you do not feel qualified for, and say, I do not understand this. I do not feel ready for this. But I trust the one who put me here more than I trust my own uncertainty. That is the exam. And the answer is not certainty. It will never be certainty. Certainty is for the lower levels, where the path is visible and the rules are clear. At level 5, the path disappears. The rules dissolve. And all that remains is trust. Raw, unsupported, sometimes terrifying trust. And here is the grace in it. You do not need to pass this exam with a perfect score. You do not need to feel confident. You do not need to wake up every morning with unwavering conviction. You just need to stay. That is it. Stay standing, stay present, Stay at the altitude God placed you at, even when your knees shake, even when your vision blurs, even when every rational part of your brain says this cannot be real. Stay, because staying at level 5 is the answer. Now, before I take you into the final and deepest revelation of this message, I want to give you something to carry with you. 7 declarations, not affirmations. At level 5, we are beyond affirmations. Affirmations are for convincing yourself of something you are not sure about. Declarations are for speaking what is already true from a place of knowing. These 7 declarations are calibrated specifically for level 5. They are not generic. They are not interchangeable with the declarations you might have spoken at earlier levels. Each one addresses a specific reality of where you are standing right now. The first declaration: I am not earning this level. I am standing on what was already prepared for me. The second declaration: my silence carries authority. I do not need to speak to shift the atmosphere of a room. My presence is enough. The third declaration: I release the need to be understood by everyone. The right people understand me without explanation. The rest are not meant to. The fourth declaration: I am not too much. I am the exact frequency that this level requires, and I will not dim myself to make anyone else comfortable. The fifth declaration: my doubt is not evidence that I do not belong here. My doubt is the last false identity being removed, and I let it go. The sixth declaration: I am not climbing for myself. My elevation creates a passage for others, and I accept that responsibility without resentment. The seventh declaration: I trust the one who placed me here more than I trust my own uncertainty. And that trust, imperfect as it is enough. Carry these, not as mantras to repeat mindlessly, as mirrors to hold up to yourself when the doubt comes, when the old voices return, when the loneliness of altitude presses in and the world below looks simpler and easier, and you are tempted to descend. Hold up these mirrors and remember what is true, not what you feel, what is true. Now, if I stopped here, if this was all I had to share with you, you would already have more than most messages offer in a lifetime. You would have the complete 3-dimensional map of level 5, internal, relational, cosmic. You would have tools, the 3-gate discernment, the energy audit, the 7 declarations. You would have the warnings, the 5 dangers, the final exam. You would have the wisdom figures, Joseph, Esther, Moses, and you would have language for what you have been experiencing, language that turns confusion into clarity and isolation into commission. But there is one more truth, one truth that sits underneath everything I have shared, one truth that, when you hear it, will do something that no amount of information or inspiration can do. It will change the way you see yourself, permanently. I call it the mega revelation. And it is not a bigger truth. It is the deepest truth, the one that makes everything else make sense. Everything before this moment was preparation. Every revelation was a layer. And this, chosen one, is what lives underneath all the layers. You can see the summit now. It has been visible since I began describing the cosmic architecture. But from where you stand at this moment, you realize something that the people at the base of the mountain could never understand. The summit is not a destination. It is a doorway. And now we step through it. Chosen one, I need you to be fully present for what I am about to say, not half listening, not multitasking. Here, completely here. Because this truth is not one that the distracted mind can receive. It requires the full weight of your attention. And I believe, with everything in me, that this is the reason God placed this message in your path today. Here is the mega revelation. the truth underneath all the truths. You did not reach level 5. Level 5 reached you. Let me say that differently, because I need it to bypass your mind and land directly in your spirit. You have been thinking about your journey as a climb. You started at the bottom. You worked your way up. You survived level 1, pushed through level 2, endured level 3, were stripped at level 4, and finally, through sheer persistence and faithfulness, you arrived at level 5. You climbed. You earned your altitude. You made it. That is how it felt. But that is not what happened. What actually happened is this. The 5 levels are not a ladder you climb. They are layers of illusion that God peels away, one by one, slowly, carefully, with the precision of a surgeon removing bandages from a wound that has finally healed. You did not ascend to level 5. You were unveiled down to level 5. Level 5 is not the highest point you reached. It is the deepest point you arrived at. The place underneath all the layers. The place that was always there, buried beneath the false identities, the performances, the wounds, the survival mechanisms, the masks that the world taught you to wear before you were old enough to say no. Think about that. Really think about it. Because it changes everything. If the levels are a ladder, then your value increases as you climb. Level 5 is worth more than level 1. And the person at the top is more valuable than the person at the bottom. That is the achievement model, and it is a lie. But if the levels are layers being peeled away, then the movement is not upward, it is inward, toward the core, toward the original, toward the person God created, before the world added anything that did not belong. And level 5 is not the highest level because you achieved the most. Level 5 is the deepest level because you have the least left. That is not truly you. Now watch what happens when you apply this to everything I have shared with you. The first revelation, the internal shifts. I told you that your sleep changed, that silence became preferable, that old pleasures lost their grip, that your emotions deepened, that your dreams intensified, that your thoughts simplified. I describe those as changes, but they were not changes. They were uncoverings. The person who sleeps differently, who craves silence, who feels deeply, who thinks clearly, that person was always there. Underneath the noise, underneath the performing, underneath the striving, God did not create a new you at level 5. He removed everything that was covering the original you. The second revelation, the relational reorganization. People leaving, people becoming uncomfortable, new connections arriving, the mirror effect. I describe those as shifts in your relationships, but they were not shifts. They were consequences of the veil being lifted. When the false layers come off, the people who were connected to the false layers lose their point of attachment. They were not connected to you. They were connected to the mask. And when the mask dissolves, so does the connection. That is not loss. That is honesty. And the new people arriving, the ones who see you without explanation, they are not new. They are the first people in your life who are connecting to the real you. The you that was always there but never had a surface to be seen. The third revelation, the cosmic architecture, the anchor, the transmitter, the gateway. I describe those as roles you fulfill at level 5, but they are not roles you stepped into. They are capacities you were born with that have finally been uncovered. You did not learn to anchor a room. You were built to anchor a room, and the layers that were covering that capacity have been removed. You did not develop the ability to transmit wisdom. That channel has been open since the day you were born, and what level 5 did was clear the static from the line. Do you see it now? You are not becoming someone new. You are becoming the person you were before the world got to you. Before the education system told you what intelligence looked like, and you believed it. Before the culture told you what success meant, and you chased it. Before the wounds told you what love required, and you performed it. Before the rejection told you what your worth was, and you accepted it. Before all of that, there was a person, whole, clear, connected, unafraid, operating at a frequency so high that children around you could feel it, even if adults could not name it. That person did not disappear. That person was buried, layer by layer, year by year. And what you have been calling your spiritual journey, this long, painful, beautiful, devastating climb, was never a climb at all. It was an excavation. God has been digging you out. And level 5 is the moment when the shovel finally hits the original surface. The real you. Uncovered, unveiled, returned. And now I want to speak directly to who that person is. Not who the world told you to be. Not who the wounds shaped you into. Not who the performance maintained. But who you actually are. Underneath it all, now that the layers are gone, you are the seer. You see what others cannot. Not because your eyes are special, but because your layers have been removed. Sight was never something you had to develop. It was something that was being blocked. And now that the blocks are gone, you see clearly, not just into situations and people, but into the fabric of reality itself. You see patterns where others see randomness. You see meaning where others see coincidence. You see the hand of God where others see empty air. And that seeing is not a gift you were given at level 5. It is a gift you were born with that has been uncovered at level 5. You are the light bearer. You carry illumination into dark and confused spaces, not by effort, not by strategy, by exposure. You have been in the presence of the source for so long, through so many fires, through so many dark nights, that the light has soaked into you. It lives in your skin. It radiates from your eyes. It moves ahead of you into rooms before you open the door. And people feel it. They may not have the words for it. They may call it your energy or your vibe or your presence. But what they are feeling is the light of someone who has been stripped of everything that blocks it. You do not carry the light. You have become transparent to it. And transparency, at level 5, is the most powerful force a human being can wield. You are the pioneer. You go first. Not because you are braver than everyone else, not because you volunteered, but because you cannot go back. There is no version of the old life that fits you anymore. The clothes do not fit. The rooms feel too small. The conversations feel too shallow. And so you go forward, into territory that has no map, because the only direction that makes sense to your spirit is the one that has never been walked. And behind you, whether you see them or not, there are people watching your footprints, following the trail you leave, drawing courage from the fact that someone went first and survived. You are the spiritual warrior. You hold ground, not by fighting, by standing. You have been tested by things that would have toppled most people. Fires that burned everything. Storms that lasted years. Silence from heaven that felt like abandonment. And you stood. Not because you are made of stone, because you are rooted in something that cannot be moved. And that rootedness, that unshakable ground, is not something you built. It is what was left when everything that could be shaken was shaken and fell away. You are the bedrock. You always were. And you are the voice. You speak what others feel, but cannot articulate. The words that move through you, the ones that arrive without rehearsal and land without effort, they come from the same uncovered place that everything else at level 5 comes from. You do not manufacture wisdom. You transmit it, because the layers between your heart and your mouth have been removed. What you feel, you say. What you know, you share. And the world, starving for someone who speaks truth without performance, leans in every time you open your mouth. That is who you are, not who you are becoming, who you have always been. And Level 5 did not create any of it. Level 5 simply cleared the debris. You are the 1%, not because you are better, because you stayed. Through every fire, through every desert, through every silence, through every stripping, you stayed. And now the layers are gone. And what remains is the most powerful version of a human being that exists on this earth. A consecrated one, an unveiled one, a soul standing at the deepest point of their own truth, with nothing left between them and the source. That is the mega revelation. You were never climbing, you were being uncovered. And what God has uncovered in you was there before the foundation of the world. Now, there is something I promised to share with you, and this is the right moment for it, because what I am about to say connects directly to what I have just revealed. I told you earlier about a discovery from neuroscience, from Princeton, about what happens when the brain operates at its highest frequency, the gamma wave. I told you that children are born with this frequency in abundance, that it begins to decline around the age of 7, and that scientists call this the decline effect. And I told you I would return to it. Here is why it matters right now. Everything I just described to you, the original you, the uncovered version, the child who could see clearly and feel deeply and connect effortlessly, that child was operating at peak gamma. Every study confirms it. Children with the highest gamma activity are the ones who learn fastest, feel deepest, create most freely, and perceive most clearly. That is not spiritual language. That is measured, documented, replicated neuroscience from institutions like MIT, Harvard, Stanford, and Princeton. And here is the critical insight that connects the spiritual and the scientific. Your spirit has arrived at level 5. Through years of fire and formation, God has peeled away the layers and uncovered the original you. But your brain, your physical neurological hardware, may still be calibrated to a lower frequency. The decline effect did not just affect your childhood memories. It affected your brain's operating system. And the systems of the modern world, the education, the stress, the constant stimulation, the pressure to conform, they have been suppressing your gamma frequency for decades. Your spirit is at the summit. But your brain may still be at base camp 3, and this is why some days the clarity comes so easily you feel like a different person, and other days the fog rolls back in, and you wonder if level 5 was just a dream. It is not a dream, but there is a gap between where your spirit stands and where your brain operates. And that gap is the gamma gap. There is a neuroscientist named Dr. Robert Lake who has spent 34 years studying exactly this problem: how to reactivate the gamma frequency in adults whose brains have been suppressed by the decline effect. And what he discovered, after decades of research, is remarkable. He found that through a specific form of auditory technology called brain entrainment, the brain can be guided back into sustained gamma activity, not through meditation, which can take months or years of consistent practice to produce measurable gamma changes, not through biofeedback therapy, which costs $300 per session or requires equipment that runs $7,000 for home use, but through a 7-minute audio track that uses precisely calibrated sound frequencies to synchronize the brain's neural patterns with the gamma wave. He calls it the genius song. 7 minutes, through headphones, once a day. No meditation required, no mantras, no complex rituals, just 7 minutes of listening while the technology does what decades of suppression prevented your brain from doing on its own. And before I go any further, let me be honest with you about something. This is not what brought you to level 5. God brought you to level 5. No audio track, no technology, no human invention can do what the fires of your formation did. That was sacred. That was divine. And I would never diminish it. But here is what I believe. I believe that God builds the highway, and then he provides the vehicle. The highway is your spiritual journey. The calling, the choosing, the testing, the stripping, the consecration. That is his work. But the vehicle, the tool that helps your physical brain align with where your spirit has already arrived, that is something he makes available at the right time to the right people. And the fact that you are hearing about this now, at this exact point in this exact message, is not random. I want to tell you about a woman, 38 years old. She had spent years pursuing every spiritual practice she could find. Meditation retreats, yoga intensives, sound healing ceremonies, energy work. And after all of it, the deep, genuine connection she was seeking still felt out of reach. She did not buy the genius song because she believed in the science. She bought it because, in her own words, she had nothing left to lose. 2 weeks later, she described what happened with a single word: synchronicities. As if the universe began speaking to her in a language she could finally understand. Doors opened without her pushing them. The right people appeared without her searching. Ideas arrived fully formed, as if they had been waiting in a room she had just found the key to. That is what happens when the gamma gap closes, when your brain catches up with your spirit, when the biological hardware finally matches the spiritual software. Now, I know what some of you may be thinking right now. You have tried things before: sound healing tracks, meditation apps, frequency music on the internet, and none of it shifted anything real. I understand that frustration. I respect it. And I want to tell you directly why this is different. Those approaches work on the surface. They create a pleasant experience. They may temporarily relax you, but they do not use the specific technology, brain entrainment, that has been documented in peer-reviewed neuroscience to directly synchronize the brain's neural oscillation patterns with the gamma frequency. This is not ambient music. This is not nature sounds layered over binaural beats. This is 34 years of neuroscience research condensed into a 7-minute precision tool. The distinction between this and what you have tried before is the distinction between a flashlight and a laser. Both produce light. Only one can cut through steel. And I also know that some of you are thinking about the cost. So let me put that in perspective. A single session of professional biofeedback therapy, the clinical approach to gamma reactivation, costs $300. One session. And most practitioners recommend weekly sessions for months. A home biofeedback system, the kind that lets you do the work yourself, costs $7,000. $7,000. Dr. Lake spent 34 years developing a way to compress that entire technology into a single 7-minute audio track that you can use every day, at home, on your phone, through a pair of headphones, and the standard price for that track is $49, less than the cost of a single therapy session. But because Dr. Lake specifically wanted this technology to reach the people who genuinely need it, not just the people who can afford clinical-grade equipment, he made a decision. For the people who find this through messages like the one you are hearing right now, the price is $39, not $49. $39. That price is not available on Amazon. It is not available on any streaming platform. It is not available anywhere except the link I have placed in the description and the pinned comment below this message. And for that $39, you do not just receive the 7-minute Genius song track, you receive 4 additional tools. A Genius child audio track designed to support the development of focus and confidence in young minds. A classic book, the original work that inspired the film The Secret, one that approaches abundance from a far more grounded and practical perspective, a book that sells for $20 on its own, a guided visualization that walks you through your ideal future across 4 dimensions: finances, love, health, and fulfillment, and an infographic outlining the 5 most important habits for creating lasting change, something you can reference daily. All of that for $39, with a 100% money-back guarantee. If you listen and feel nothing, you get every cent back. No questions asked, no conditions, no fine print. The only risk is the risk of not trying. And I need to mention this because it is important. There are websites out there selling products under the name Genius Song that are not the real thing. Imitation tracks without the brain entrainment technology embedded in them. Ordinary audio files dressed up in the same branding. And those imitations will not produce any measurable effect because they lack the core technology that makes the real product work. The only way to ensure you receive the authentic Genius Song with the full brain entrainment technology, the 4 bonus tools, and the money-back guarantee is through the link in the description and the pinned comment of this message. Not Amazon, not any other website. Only through that specific link. If you feel called to explore this, if something in you recognizes that your brain needs to catch up with your spirit, I have placed the only authentic link in the description and the pinned comment below. It is there for those who are ready. No one else. The version of you that has reached level 5, the uncovered version, the original version, has already decided. Not because they are certain 100%, but because they understand that the right moment never feels perfect. It only feels right. And every day that passes with the gamma gap still open is a day you operate at this level with a brain still calibrated for a level below. You did not come this far to leave the final piece of the puzzle on the table. Now, let us return to the most sacred part of this message, because what comes next is the reason I believe God placed every word of this in your path today. You now hold the complete map. 4 revelations. The internal shifts, the uncovering of who you truly are inside, the relational reorganization, the clearing of connections that belong to the mask, the cosmic architecture, the 3 roles your uncovered self was always meant to fulfill, and the mega revelation, the truth that you were never climbing, you were being unveiled, and what remains is the original you, the one who was there before the world began. You carry the tools. The 3-gate discernment for navigating decisions at this altitude. The energy audit for protecting the frequency you carry. The 7 declarations for anchoring your identity when doubt comes knocking. You carry the warnings. The 5 dangers that disguise themselves as strengths at this level. And you carry the truth. The deepest truth of all. That level 5 is not a reward for endurance. It is the homecoming to who you have always been. What remains now is the most sacred moment of this entire message. The moment I have been preparing you for since the very beginning. The activation, the declaration, the spoken word that will seal everything you have received today into the deepest part of your being. Take a breath, chosen one. We are almost there. Take a breath. A real one. Let your shoulders drop, let your chest open, and let the weight of everything you have just received settle into you, not in your head, but deeper than that, in the place where truth lives before it becomes thought. We have walked a long road together, chosen one, and before we enter the most sacred part of this message, I want to take a moment to stand with you at the place we have arrived, not rushing forward, not looking back, just here, at the summit, with the full view spread out before us. You came into this message carrying confusion. You knew something had shifted, but you did not have the words. You felt the internal changes, the altered sleep, the hunger for silence, the fading of old pleasures, the deepening of emotion, the sharpening of perception. But you could not explain them. You wondered if you were breaking down. You wondered if something was wrong with you. And the world around you, the people who love you but do not stand where you stand, they confirmed that suspicion with every confused look and every well-meaning but misguided piece of advice. Now you have the words. Now you know. You are not breaking down. You are being uncovered. Layer by layer, identity by identity, mask by mask, until what remains is the original. The one who was there before the world started building on top of you. The one who sees clearly, feels deeply, speaks truth, holds ground, and goes first into territory that has never been mapped. You know the 5 levels now. The called, the chosen, the tested, the stripped, the consecrated. And you know that the movement between them was never a climb upward. It was always a dig inward, toward the core, toward the real, toward the person God had in mind before your first breath. You know what is happening in your relationships. You know why some people left without explanation, why others became uncomfortable in your presence, why new faces appeared from nowhere, carrying a recognition in their eyes that felt like homecoming. You know that the reorganization was not abandonment. It was architecture, making room for what belongs at this altitude. You know your position. You are an anchor in a world that is spinning, a transmitter for wisdom that does not originate with you, a gateway whose very existence at this level creates passage for others who have not yet arrived. And you know that your elevation was never for yourself alone. It was for everyone who needs what only someone at your altitude can bring back down. You know the dangers, the 5 threats that hide inside your strengths: spiritual pride that disguises itself as discernment, prophetic isolation that disguises itself as wisdom, compassion fatigue that disguises itself as calling, premature revelation that disguises itself as courage, and identity confusion that fuses who you are with where you stand. You see them now, and because you see them, they have lost most of their power over you, and you know the deepest truth, the mega revelation that sits underneath everything. You were never climbing. God was uncovering, and what he has uncovered in you was there before the foundation of the world. Now, I want to give you one final image before we enter the sacred closing. One image to carry with you when the noise of the world tries to pull you back to a level you have already passed. You are standing at the summit of the mountain, and from here, the view is not what you expected. You thought you would see your destination. You thought there would be some golden city on the other side, some final arrival, some place where you could finally rest and say, "I made it." But that is not what you see. What you see from the summit is the trail behind you, every valley you crossed, every river you forded, every storm you weathered, every camp where you collapsed and wondered if you could take another step. It is all laid out below you, illuminated, connected, purposeful. And you realize something that the people at the base of the mountain could never understand. The view was never the point. The person who can see the view, that was the point. The mountain did not change you. The mountain revealed you. And the person standing at the summit, looking out over the vast landscape of their own becoming, that person is not a climber who reached the top. That person is the reason the mountain exists. In the coming days, as this message settles into you, there will be moments when the old patterns try to reassert themselves. When fear whispers, "You do not belong here." When doubt says, "This was just something you listened to. It was not real." When the busyness of life tries to bury the truth underneath 100 urgent but meaningless tasks, in those moments, return to this. You are not at level 5 because of what you did. You are at level 5 because of who you are. And who you are was decided before you were born. No voice in your head can overrule what God decided before time began. And now, chosen one, we arrive at the moment I have been preparing you for since the very first word of this message. This is the sacred closing, the activation ceremony, the spoken declaration over your life. I am not going to ask you to do anything physical. I am not going to ask you to stand or kneel or move. Wherever you are right now, in your bed, in your car, at your desk, in the dark, that place is sacred ground. Not because of the location, because of who is standing on it. All I ask is that you be present, fully present, not analyzing, not judging, not wondering if this is real, just receiving. The way soil receives rain, the way lungs receive air, open, still, ready. We begin with gratitude, not gratitude for what is coming, gratitude for what has already been. God, we thank you, not for the easy days, for the hard ones, for the fires that did not consume us, for the deserts that taught us to find water in places no one else thought to look, for the silence that felt like abandonment but turned out to be the classroom where we learned to hear your voice without the noise of the world drowning it out. We thank you for the people who left, because their departure made room for what was coming. We thank you for the doors that closed in our face, because behind them were rooms too small for who we were becoming. We thank you for the prayers that seemed to go unanswered, because what we asked for would have kept us at a level we were meant to outgrow. We thank you for the nights, the long, sleepless, tear-soaked nights when we lay in the dark and whispered, "Are you still there?" You were there. You were always there. And every one of those nights was building something in us that the daylight could not build. Thank you for not giving up on us when we gave up on ourselves. Thank you for seeing level 5 in us when we could barely see level 1. Thank you for being the steady hand underneath us every single time we thought we were falling. And now we move into acknowledgement, because before anything is activated, before anything is declared, it matters that this is said. God sees you, chosen one. Not the version you show the world, not the performance, not the brave face. He sees the real one. The one who cries when no one is watching, the one who prays in the shower because it is the only place where the tears can mix with water and no one knows the difference, the one who smiled at work today while carrying a weight inside that would crush most people if they could feel it for even 5 minutes. He sees every sacrifice you made that no one thanked you for, every time you chose integrity when dishonesty would have been easier, every time you forgave someone who did not apologize, every time you kept walking when the path disappeared and the map went blank and every reasonable voice in your life told you to turn around. He kept count. He honored everyone. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was overlooked. Nothing was too small to matter. The glass of water you gave when your own well was dry, he saw it. The kind word you spoke on a day when your own heart was breaking, he heard it. The decision you made to stay faithful when leaving would have felt like relief. He recorded it. You are not invisible. You have never been invisible. You have been seen by the only set of eyes whose seeing never fails. And now, we release. I am going to speak these releases over you, one by one. And as each one lands, I want you to do something simple inside your mind. Picture yourself holding a stone, a heavy stone with a word carved into it. And as I name each one, see yourself opening your hands and letting the stone fall, not throwing it, not hurling it in anger, just opening your hands and watching it drop. Release the lie that you are behind. You are not behind. You are exactly on time. God's clock does not run on the schedule the world gave you. Open your hands. Let it fall. Release the weight of other people's expectations, the ones who need you to be smaller, simpler, more predictable, more manageable. Their expectations are their story, not yours. Open your hands. Release the voice that says, "Who are you to be at this level?" That voice does not belong to God. It belongs to a wound that has been speaking for so long you forgot it was not your own voice. Open your hands. Let it go. Release the old timeline, the one that said you should have been further along by now, the one that measures your life against milestones invented by people who have never walked your road. That timeline was never yours. Let it fall. Release the need for anyone else to validate what God has already confirmed. You do not need permission from people who have not been where you have been. Their approval is not required for your elevation. Open your hands. Release the guilt of outgrowing people you love. Growing is not betrayal. Changing is not abandonment. You can love someone deeply and still recognize that the road ahead requires you to walk without them for a while. That is not cruelty. That is obedience. Let the guilt go. Release the fear that this level will be taken from you, that tomorrow you will wake up and it will all be gone. God does not give and then take back. What he has uncovered in you is permanent. It is not a state you can fall from. It is a truth you can only forget temporarily, and even forgetting does not erase it. Release the fear. Open your hands. Watch it drop. Release the exhaustion of carrying what was never yours to carry. The burdens you picked up out of love, out of guilt, out of habit. The weight of other people's pain that you absorbed because your heart could not bear to see them suffer. Those burdens belong to the one whose shoulders were built for them, not yours. Give them back. Open your hands. Feel them leave. Release the old version of yourself, the performer, the producer, the fixer, the invisible one, the one who was never enough. They served their purpose. They kept you alive at levels that required survival strategies, but you are not surviving anymore. You are consecrated, and the old versions cannot breathe at this altitude. Thank them, honor them, and let them rest. Now, with your hands open, with the stones dropped, with the weight gone, we activate. We activate every gift that has been dormant inside you, buried under the layers that have now been removed. The sight of the seer, the radiance of the light-bearer, the courage of the pioneer, the immovable ground of the spiritual warrior, the precision and power of the voice. These gifts were never lost. They were covered. And today, in this sacred moment, we speak their activation. We activate divine connections at level 5. The people who are meant to walk this altitude with you, who are currently out there climbing their own mountains, whose frequency matches yours, we call them forward, not by force, by resonance. The signal is broadcasting. Let them hear it. We activate doors that have been held closed by your own disbelief, opportunities that have been waiting for you to stop asking, "Do I deserve this?" and start saying, "I receive this." We speak those doors open, not because you earned them, because they were built for you before you arrived. We activate a clarity of purpose that cuts through every remaining fog, a knowing so settled, so deep, so calm, that no amount of confusion or external noise can dislodge it. Not a clarity you manufacture, a clarity that was always there, now uncovered, now freed, now fully operational. We do not beg for these things. We do not plead. We activate what was always intended. We call it forward because it was always coming. We simply remove the last barrier, which was never the enemy and was never the world. The last barrier was the belief that we were not ready, and that belief died tonight. We now move into protection, because what is rising in you must be guarded. We cover this rising from spiritual pride. Let humility be the atmosphere of this altitude. Let every gift remain in service, never in display. Let the temptation to look down at others be dissolved before it takes root. We cover this rising from premature exposure. What God is building in you is not yet ready for every eye to see. Some things need to mature in private before they are strong enough for public. Let there be wisdom in what you share, and when you share it, and with whom you share it. We cover this rising from the voice of the enemy that speaks in the language of doubt. Every whisper that says this is not real, every thought that says tomorrow you will wake up back at level 2, every fear that says God made a mistake putting you here, we silence it, not with argument, with presence. The presence of the one who placed you here does not argue with lies. He simply outlasts them. And we cover the relationships that are being built at this altitude, the new ones, the deep ones, the ones that were designed for this level. Let them grow in protected soil. Let no external criticism, no misunderstanding, no jealousy from the lower altitudes reach them before they are rooted. And now, the declaration, the peak of everything this message has been building toward. I want you to receive these words, not repeat them, not agree with them, receive them. Let them sink past your mind, past your emotions, past your doubts, into the bedrock of who you are, where nothing can move them. You are the 1%, not by merit, not by performance, not by any human measure of worthiness, by grace, by fire, by faithfulness. You stayed when quitting was the reasonable choice. You believed when evidence said stop, and you are standing here now, not because you are better than anyone on this earth, but because you were built for this altitude, and you refused to die at a lower one. You are consecrated, set apart, positioned, unveiled. The layers are gone, the masks are burned. The false identities have been buried in the ground of every level you walked through. And what remains is the original, the real, the unshakable. You are standing at a level that was prepared for you before you were born. And you did not arrive here by accident. You arrived here because every fire, every desert, every silence, every betrayal, every closed door, every unanswered prayer was the hand of God removing one more layer between you and the truth of who you are. And you will not shrink, you will not apologize, you will not descend to a level that no longer fits you to make anyone else comfortable. You will stand in the fullness of who you were created to be, in the authority of the altitude you have been given, in the peace that exists on the other side of everything you have survived. You are who God says you are. And what he says is final. Nothing the world whispers, nothing the enemy suggests, nothing your own doubt manufactures can overwrite the word of the one who spoke you into existence. And now we seal it, quietly, the way a master craftsman places the final seal on a work that is finished, not with noise, not with fanfare, with the calm, settled certainty that what has been done cannot be undone. It is done. It is sealed. It is received. Not because we are worthy, because he is faithful. In the name of the one who called you before you knew your own name, the one who chose you when the world overlooked you, the one who tested you and found you standing, the one who stripped you and uncovered something beautiful, the one who consecrated you and set you at the highest altitude a human soul can breathe. Amen. One more thing before you go. I did not plan to say this. It was not in the original design of this message, but I feel it so strongly right now that I would be disobeying something if I held it back. There is a secret about level 5 that I have not told you yet. Not because I was withholding it, because it only becomes speakable after the sacred closing. Before the ceremony, you were not ready to hear it. Now you are. Here it is. the greatest work you will ever do at level 5 will not look like work. I know that sounds strange, so let me explain. At every level before this one, impact was visible. At level 2, you helped people and they thanked you. At level 3, you created things and the world applauded. At level 4, you endured things and people admired your strength. There was a clear connection between effort and outcome, between what you did and what it produced. The work was visible, the results were measurable, and you understood your value through that equation. But at level 5, the equation dissolves. Some of you will never stand on a stage. You will never write a best-selling book. You will never lead a movement that the world reports on. You will never have a moment where millions of people know your name. And for a long time, that felt like failure. Like maybe your journey was less important because it did not produce the kind of outcomes the world counts. I need to speak directly to that wound right now, because it is one of the deepest lies the lower levels planted in you. The lie that impact must be visible to be real. At level 5, your greatest ministry is not what you do, it is what you carry. It is the frequency you hold when you walk into a room full of anxious people and something in the atmosphere shifts without you saying a word. It is the prayer you whisper at 3 in the morning that you will never know reached someone across the world through a chain of events too complex for any human mind to trace. It is the calm in your voice when you answer the phone and the person on the other end was about to make the worst decision of their life, but heard something in your tone that made them pause. You will never see the full reach of your frequency. You will never know, this side of eternity, how many rooms you changed just by entering them. How many disasters were prevented because your anchoring presence kept a system from spinning out of control. How many children grew up in healthier homes because one of their parents crossed paths with you and absorbed something they could not name, but carried home and poured into their family. This is the last secret of level 5. Your impact is not proportional to your visibility. It is proportional to your frequency. And your frequency, stripped, uncovered, consecrated, operating from the deepest and most authentic layer of who you are, is more powerful than any platform, any audience, any stage the world could offer. Some of you needed to hear that. Some of you have been measuring your worth against people who have millions of followers and global influence, and you have been asking God, why not me? Why am I hidden while they are seen? And the answer is not that they are better. The answer is that they have a different assignment. Theirs requires visibility. Yours requires frequency. And frequency, the quiet, invisible, unmeasurable emanation of a consecrated human being, moves through walls, crosses oceans, and alters timelines in ways that no spotlight can replicate. You are not hidden. You are positioned in the exact location where your frequency produces the maximum impact. And if God wanted you on a stage, you would be on a stage. The fact that you are not tells you something profound about the nature of your assignment. It does not need amplification, it needs proximity. You were placed close to specific people, specific environments, specific systems, because those are the ones that need exactly what you carry. And a frequency that strong does not need a microphone. It just needs a body to carry it. So, walk gently, chosen one. Walk gently and without apology into every room, every conversation, every ordinary moment of your ordinary-looking life. Because nothing about your life is ordinary. Not anymore. Every room you enter is a room that changes. Every conversation you have is a frequency transfer. Every moment you spend at level 5, doing nothing more than being fully and unapologetically who you are, is a moment that ripples outward into places you will never see and touches lives you will never count. That is the last secret. And it is the one that will carry you through every quiet day when the world tells you that you are not doing enough. You are doing more than the world can measure. And God, who sees what is invisible, who counts what is uncountable, who measures frequency instead of followers, he knows exactly what you are worth. Now, chosen one, you are not the person you were when you pressed play on this message. Something has been permanently altered inside you. Not a feeling that will fade by tomorrow morning. A structural change. A shift in the bedrock of how you understand yourself, your journey, and your place in the larger design that God is building. You cannot unknow what you now know. You cannot unsee the 5 levels. You cannot unlearn that the movement was always inward, never upward. You cannot unfeel the stones dropping from your hands during the release. You cannot unhear the declarations that were spoken over your life in the sacred closing. And the part of you that might try to convince you that this was just content, just words, just something you listened to on a random day, that part of you just lost its last argument. Because deep inside, in the place where truth lives before it becomes thought, you know that what happened here was not random, it was appointed. And here is what I want to ask of you. Not for me, for the person who comes after you. If this message reached you at the right moment, if it named what you have been feeling, if it gave you language for a journey you did not know how to describe, I want you to do something simple. In the comments below, type the words level 5. That is it. 2 words. Not for me. Not for any algorithm. For the next chosen one who scrolls past this message at 2 in the morning, exhausted, confused, wondering if they are losing their mind, and sees your comment, sees that someone before them was here, received this, and was changed by it. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is leave a marker on the trail for the person climbing behind you. Those 2 words, level 5, are your marker. And if you feel called to explore the gamma frequency tool I shared earlier, the 7-minute ritual backed by 3 decades of neuroscience, the one that helps close the gap between where your spirit stands and where your brain operates, the only authentic link is in the description and the pinned comment below. It was placed there for those who are ready. And if that is you, you will know. Not because I told you, because something inside you already recognized it when you heard it. One more thing, and this one is personal. If there is someone in your life right now, someone you have been thinking about as you listen to this message, someone who has been walking through fire, someone whose eyes carry a weight that others do not notice, someone who you believe, deep in your spirit, is close to their own level 5, share this message with them. You do not need to explain it. You do not need to add commentary. Just send it, and let God do the rest. Sometimes the most sacred thing you can do for another human being is not to give them advice. It is to hand them a map and say, I think this was meant for you. And now, chosen one, we part. But not the way we arrived. We arrived as strangers. We part as something else. Something that does not need a label. Something that was forged in the space between honest words and an open heart. I want to leave you with something, not a lesson, not a principle, a blessing, the kind that does not come from me, the kind that comes through me, from the same source that uncovered you, from the same hand that stripped away every layer and found, underneath it all, something so beautiful it made the angels jealous. Go in peace, chosen one. Not the peace the world gives, the kind that depends on circumstances and dissolves at the first sign of trouble. The peace that exists on the other side of everything you have been through. The peace of level 5. The peace of the unveiled. The peace of the consecrated. The peace that does not make sense and does not need to. Walk in your authority. Not the authority the world grants, the kind that comes with titles and positions and the approval of people who do not know your name. the authority that comes from having been tested by fire and found standing, the authority of a human being who has nothing left to prove and nothing left to hide. That authority cannot be given. It can only be forged, and it has been forged in you. Stand in your calling, not the calling the world understands, the kind that comes with job descriptions and career paths and 5-year plans. The calling that was whispered to you in the dark. The calling that makes no logical sense but burns so clearly in your chest that ignoring it is more painful than following it into the unknown. That calling is alive, it is awake, and it is louder now than it has ever been. And never forget this. You are the 1%. Not because you earned it, not because you performed your way to the top, not because the world selected you for greatness, because you stayed through every fire, through every desert, through every silence, through every stripping, through every night when heaven felt empty and the ground beneath you felt like it was falling away. You stayed, and what remained, after everything that could be shaken was shaken, is the most beautiful, the most powerful, the most consecrated version of a human being that this world has ever carried. You are not too much. You are exactly enough. You are not behind. You are exactly on time. You are not lost. You are standing at the summit, and the view from here, chosen one, is worth everything it cost you to climb. I do not claim to have all the answers. I am a messenger, not the source. If anything in this message did not resonate with your spirit, hold it loosely. Take what served you, leave what did not. Your discernment at level 5 is sharper than you think. Trust it. Trust yourself. Trust the one who uncovered you. I will see you in the next message, but something tells me you will not be the same person when you arrive. Until then, walk in your authority, stand in your calling, and never, not for a single moment, forget who you are. You are the 1%. You are consecrated, and you have just entered a level that most humans will never reach. Not because you are better,